8 figures who defied the king of the gods and the eternal price they paid for it. 1. Prometheus. He was a titan, son of Iapetus, but he chose the side of Zeus when the old gods fell. He was clever beyond measure. The ancient sources call him the wisest of his kind, the one who shaped humanity from clay and gave it the spark of thought. Yet wisdom did not save him. It condemned him. Prometheus stole fire from Olympus. He hid it inside the hollow stalk of a fennel plant and carried it down to mortals, who had been living cold and afraid in the dark. He also tricked Zeus once before, at Mycone, by wrapping bones in glistening fat and offering them as the gods' share of sacrifice. Zeus saw through the deception. He chose the bones anyway, and then he made Prometheus pay. The Titan was chained to a crag in the Caucasus Mountains, bound in unbreakable fetters forged by Hephaestus himself. Each day an eagle came. It tore open his side and devoured his liver. Each night the liver grew back. The torment was designed to never end. Hesiod records this in the Theogony, lines 517 onward, and again in Works and Days. Aeschylus dramatized it in the tragedy Prometheus Bound, giving the Titan a voice that still echoes through Western literature. Here is what most people miss. Zeus did not only punish Prometheus, he punished humanity for accepting the gift. The response to fire was Pandora, the first woman, sent down with a sealed jar of every evil that would ever afflict mortal life. The fire that warmed the world also unsealed its suffering. 2. Atlas. Atlas was the brother of Prometheus, another son of Iapetus, but he took the opposite path in the great war between the Titans and the Olympians. He led the Titan forces in battle. When the war ended and Zeus stood victorious, the defeated were cast into the pit of Tartarus. Atlas received a different sentence. He was condemned to stand at the western edge of the world and hold up the sky on his shoulders. Not the earth, as later art would suggest, but the heavens themselves, the vault of stars, the weight of every cloud and constellation, forever. Hesiod gives us this in the Theogony, lines 517 to 520. Homer mentions him in the Odyssey, Book 1, as the one who knows the depths of every sea and holds the pillars that keep earth and sky apart. The detail worth pausing on is this. Heracles, during his 11th labor, briefly took the sky onto his own shoulders so that Atlas could fetch the golden apples of the Hesperides. Atlas tried to leave him with the burden permanently. Heracles tricked the Titan into taking it back, claiming he only needed to adjust a cushion on his shoulders. The strongest mortal in Greek myth nearly buckled under what one Titan was forced to bear without rest, without end, for all of time. 3. Sisyphus. He was the founder and king of Ephyra, the city later called Corinth. The sources describe him as the most cunning of mortals, a man who built a kingdom on cleverness and was not above using deceit against the gods themselves. His crimes were many. He betrayed one of Zeus's secrets, telling the river god Asopus that Zeus had abducted his daughter Aegina in exchange for a freshwater spring. When Zeus sent Thanatos, the personification of death, to collect him, Sisyphus chained Thanatos in his own fetters so that no mortal could die while he was bound. When he finally was dragged to the underworld, he convinced Persephone to release him on a temporary errand and then refused to return. Zeus had endured enough. Sisyphus was condemned to roll a great boulder up a hill in the underworld. Every time he neared the summit, the stone slipped from his grasp and rolled back to the bottom. He would walk down. He would begin again. Homer describes the punishment in the Odyssey, Book 11, in the scene where Odysseus visits the dead. Apollodorus repeats it in the Bibliotheca. Pindar references it in his Odes. The detail that gets overlooked is the silence of it. There is no eagle, no lightning, no spectacle. Just a man and a stone and a hill, repeating the same futile motion until the end of time. Of all the eternal punishments in Greek myth, this one might be the most terrifying because it is the most ordinary. 4. Tantalus. Tantalus was a king of Sipylus in Lydia, and according to most traditions, he was a son of Zeus himself. He was beloved by the gods. They invited him to dine at their table on Olympus. They shared with him nectar and ambrosia, the food and drink of immortals. He repaid them by committing one of the worst crimes in all of Greek myth. The sources offer several accounts. In one, he stole the divine food and brought it back to mortals. In another, he revealed the secrets of the gods. But the most enduring version tells us that Tantalus killed his own son, Pelops, cooked him, and served the body to the gods at a banquet to test whether they would notice. They noticed. Demeter, distracted by grief over her own daughter, ate part of one shoulder. The rest of Pelops was restored. the missing piece replaced with ivory. Tantalus was sent to Tartarus and placed in a pool of clear water beneath a tree heavy with fruit. When he bent to drink, the water receded. When he reached for the fruit, the branches pulled away. He stood there forever, starving, parched, surrounded by what he could not have. Homer gives this account in the Odyssey, Book 11. Pindar covers it in the first Olympian ode. Ovid retells it in the Metamorphoses. The lasting trace of his name is in our own language. The verb to tantalize comes directly from his torment. If you believe understanding these ancient stories matters, subscribe and hit the bell. It helps YouTube show this to more people who are looking for this kind of content. That said, let's continue. 5. Ixion. Ixion was the king of the Lapiths in Thessaly. He carried the dark distinction of being the first mortal in Greek myth to shed the blood of his own kin. He had promised a bride price to his father-in-law, Dionysus, and rather than pay it, he invited the old man to a feast and pushed him into a pit of burning coals. No king on earth would purify him. The crime was too great. But Zeus, in a strange act of mercy, took pity on Ixion and brought him to Olympus, cleansing him of the murder and seating him at the table of the gods. Ixion responded by lusting after Hera, the queen of Olympus and Zeus's wife. Zeus suspected the betrayal and tested him. He shaped a cloud into the exact image of Hera and placed it in Ixion's path. Ixion took the cloud as a lover. From that union came the race of centaurs, half man and half horse. The punishment was immediate. Ixion was bound to a flaming wheel, and the wheel was sent spinning through the sky for all eternity, in some accounts through the underworld, in others through the heavens themselves. Pindar describes this in the second Pythian ode. Apollodorus records it in the epitome of his Bibliotheca. The surprising detail is the lesson Pindar draws from it. He says Ixion was made to circle the sky proclaiming over and over that mortals must repay their benefactors with kindness. The wheel was not only torture, it was a sermon, broadcast forever to anyone who might consider crossing the same line. 6. Lycaon. Lycaon was a king of Arcadia, father of 50 sons, and one of the oldest figures in Greek myth. The sources describe him as savage, impious, and curious in the worst possible way. He wanted to know whether Zeus, who had come to his palace in the form of a traveler, was truly a god. So he set a test. He killed a young boy, in some versions a hostage, in others his own grandson Nyctimus, and cooked the flesh into a meal. Then he served it to his guest. Zeus knew at the first sight of the dish. He overturned the table. Then he transformed Lycaon. The king's clothes became matted hair. His arms became legs. His mouth stretched into jaws and filled with teeth. He kept his cruelty, his hunger, his wild eyes. But he was no longer a man. He was the first wolf. Ovid tells this story in the first book of the Metamorphoses. Apollodorus records a version in the Bibliotheca, Book 3. Pausanias visited Arcadia centuries later and reported that the locals still spoke of the transformation as historical fact. Here is what is rarely said. According to Ovid, the disgust Zeus felt at Lycaon's crime was the trigger for the Great Flood. The same flood Deucalion and Pyrrha survived. One king's act of impiety nearly ended the human race, and the word lycanthropy, the name we give to the myth of the werewolf, comes directly from Lycaon's name. 7. Salmoneus. Salmoneus was the king of Elis, and according to Apollodorus, the brother of Sisyphus. The two shared a family talent for offending the gods, but Salmoneus took it further than anyone. He decided he was Zeus, not a servant of Zeus, not a favored mortal. He demanded that his subjects worship him as the king of the gods. He built a bronze chariot and dragged metal cauldrons behind it across a wooden bridge to imitate the sound of thunder. He hurled torches into the sky and called them his lightning. He sacrificed to himself. Zeus did not warn him, did not appear to him, did not ask him to stop. He simply struck Salmoneus with a real thunderbolt and reduced him, his chariot, and his entire city to ash. Virgil places this scene in the Aeneid, Book 6, where Aeneas sees Salmoneus suffering in the depths of the underworld. Apollodorus records it in the Bibliotheca, Book 1, Chapter 9. Diodorus Siculus also covers the story. The detail worth holding onto is what survived. Salmoneus had a daughter named Tyro. She lived through the destruction of her father's kingdom and went on to bear two of the most important figures in the heroic age, Peleus and Neleus, the latter of whom became the father of Nestor of Pylos. The man who pretended to be Zeus was erased. His bloodline became the foundation of legends. 8. Phineas. Phineas was a king of Thrace and a prophet of remarkable skill. The sources differ on his lineage. Some name him the son of Agenor, others the son of Poseidon. What they agree on is that he was given the gift of prophecy and that he used it badly. He revealed too much. He told mortals what the gods intended. He laid bare the future when the future was meant to remain hidden. The accounts of who punished him are not unanimous. Some sources point to Helios, others to Poseidon. But the dominant tradition, recorded by Apollonius of Rhodes, places the judgment with Zeus. Phineas was struck blind, and every time he sat down to eat, the Harpies, foul-winged creatures with the faces of women, swept down from the sky. They snatched the food from his table. What they could not carry, they fouled with their stench, leaving nothing edible behind. He starved at every meal. He aged in suffering. Apollonius of Rhodes describes this in the Argonautica, Book 2. Apollodorus records it in the Bibliotheca, Book 1, Chapter 9. Hesiod refers to it in surviving fragments. The lesser-known turn is how it ended. The Argonauts arrived at his shore on their voyage to Colchis. Two of them, Zeus and Calais, were sons of the north wind Boreas, and they had wings. They chased the Harpies through the sky and drove them off forever. Phineas, in gratitude, told the Argonauts how to survive the clashing rocks ahead. The man punished for revealing the future was freed only when he agreed to reveal it one more time. This time for heroes the gods favored. 8 figures. 8 punishments. 8 different shapes that the same lesson takes. What runs through every one of these stories is the same warning, repeated by different poets across 1,000 years. The line between mortal and divine is not a suggestion, it is a wall. Cross it through pride, through deceit, through cruelty, through the hunger to be more than what you are, and the consequence is not a single moment of pain, it is duration, it is the rest of time. The Greeks did not imagine the worst punishment as death. They imagined it as eternity without rest, awareness without escape, suffering without an ending. Whatever you believe about the old gods, the moral they encoded into their myths still cuts. Power without humility ends in fire. Cleverness without reverence ends in stone. And the favor of those above you is the most fragile gift you will ever receive. If this video opened your eyes to something you didn't know about these ancient stories, share it with someone who needs to see it. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.